Welcome to Little Black Cart Videos. In this video, we'll be taking a closer look at the phenomenon of nihilism. What does it have to do with anarchy and anarchists? Is nihilism a dark, grim, brooding look at the world and everything in it, or something else? From Blessed is the Flame by Serafinsky. Quote, "From the foundation of this critique, nihilism identifies a common trap experienced by anarchists. The magnetic compulsion to identify ourselves within society even though we strive for its destruction. In my local context, this often looks like anarchists responding to critics of property destruction with reminders of all that we contribute to society. When we are not rioting, we are community organizers, food not bomb chefs, musicians, etc. Negation, however, is justified by the existence of a ruling order, not by our credentials as activists. Our riots are justified not because we contribute, but because we exist under the heel of a monstrous society. Positive projects are the means of surviving that order. Negation is a project of destroying it completely." Unquote. Section 1. What is a nihilist?
Nothing.
He believes in nothing, Lebowski, nothing.
The popular conception of a nihilist probably brings to mind either a drunk German into techno or a cigarette-smoking Frenchman going on about the meaninglessness and absurdity of life. However, there are other histories and tendencies associated with the term. One such tendency involved a group of Russian youth in revolt against the established order, a group which, quote, negated all authority exercised by the state, by the church, or by the family, unquote. The tendency of Russian nihilism incorporated elements many might see as countercultural, such as literature, fashion, and philosophy, but whose activity also culminated in the assassination of a Russian Tsar in 1881. From Boom by Aragorn. Quote, "What then was nihilism? Nihilism was a youth movement, a philosophical tendency, and a revolutionary impulse. Nihilism was the valorization of the natural sciences. Nihilism was a specific fashion style. Nihilism was a new approach to aesthetics, criticism, and ethics. Nihilism was a contradiction between a studied materialism and the desire to annihilate the social order. Nihilism was also a particularly Russian response to the conditions of Tsarist reform and repression. Nihilism has become much more than it originally would have been capable of because of the viral nature of its value system, practice, and conclusions. Nihilism's effect is traceable through the history of anarchism, through the formation and modern practice of terrorism, and through philosophical trends from deconstruction to existentialism." Unquote. Although it would be easy to see the story of the Russian nihilists as merely a historical one, they do offer a curious, questioning attitude to the strange world we inhabit and wonder if anything can be done about it. In this video, we will be taking a closer look at the phenomenon of nihilism, what it is, what it means, and what it has to do with anarchy and anarchists. Is nihilism a dark, grim, brooding look at the world and everything in it, or something else? Section 2. What does nihilism offer anarchism? From Nihilist Communism by Monsieur Dupont. Quote, "Anarchists must say what only anarchists can say. It is important to remain true to theoretical positions and not get caught up in apparent resurgencies of popular dissent. Even if there were only 10 anarchists left uncompromised, so long as they kept to their principles, they would have a greater impact in critical moments than any phalanx of flag-waving activists in their watered-down popular anti-capitalism. Anarchists must undermine faith in all proposed solutions to war, repression, cheap labor, etc., and not promote their own. They must demonstrate how rubbish all left-wing solutions really are and how there are no solutions that do not end in compromise with the generality. There is no relief, there is no peace, there is no reform. So long as the system remains, there is only intensification of productivity by whatever means, and that includes both war and people's governments." Unquote. Nihilism is a word fraught with many meanings depending on who one is talking to, but here the term is used as a way to say no revolution, or in lieu of no revolution, what is to be done. If the grand moment of overturning all the bad things never comes, or our actions can never have the massive impact we desire them to have, i.e. pushing events or people towards the revolution, or attentates leading to the revolution, what do we do? Does this mean we only have means and never an end? A constant critique against the left or anybody else trying to sell people on the revolution? What, if anything, can still be done? The probing, questioning attitude of nihilism puts everything under the microscope, including politics, economics, the movement, the revolution, capitalism, socialism, solutions, human rights, the left, the right, voting, protesting, history, etc. All of these and more fall under the rubric of this questioning attitude. This constant, never-ending curiosity runs you off the map of any proposed solutions and allows you to see through existing ones. No solutions will work because all of the solutions that exist are set by the current world we live in. If we want something different, then it doesn't make sense to look or point to existing solutions as an answer. Section 3. Practical Uses of Nihilism. From Boom by Aragorn. Quote, finally, a strategic nihilist position allows for a range of motion heretofore not available. The ethical limitations of doing the right thing have transferred movements for social change, from pacifists and ethicists who sanctimoniously wait for the club to fall or the strength of their convictions to shatter capitalism, to adherents of the Vietnam-era form of social protest. It is clear that the terrain allowed by morality is bleak and filled with quagmire. Armed struggle groups who led non-existent masses towards their better world have shown similar failure. If these are not the models that frame your conception of change, you are free to make moves on a chessboard that no one else is playing on. You begin to write the rules that those in power are not prepared for. You can take angles. You can pace yourself. You can start dreaming big again, instead of just dreaming as large as the next demo, action, or war. Unquote. An aspect of nihilism can be described as no future. This is usually seen as a remark made in resignation. However, this should be seen in a more positive light as the opening of a horizon. If all of the proposed solutions are terrible, then we can use nihilism to see through them clearly. We could also come to the conclusion that there are no solutions, or at least not one final solution. We must take our lives into our own hands from where we stand in the here and now.
Come and get it.
We fuck you up!
Show me what you got, nihilist.
This here and now could maybe work for us and no one else. Walking off of the map could lead anywhere and nowhere. Having no existing solutions or plans keeps our enemies on their toes and keeps them guessing. We could also think and see broader than politics to find ways we are being fucked over, or to see things that do not even enter into the scope of politics. Section 4. A critical lens of nihilism as applied to anarchist reactions to the pandemic. From Finding the Ties That Bind Us by CrimeThink, posted on A-News. Quote, with politicians such as Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez calling for the people to engage in mutual aid in order to survive the COVID-19 crisis, those not previously familiar with the term might never guess it was coined by an anarchist scientist who advocated against central government. As economies collapse and the institutions of state and capitalism fail to protect people's health and livelihoods, communities have been left no choice but to rely on each other. This has led to a proliferation of spontaneous mutual aid networks in communities where none previously existed, often cohering around Facebook groups and Google documents.
I'm a nihilist.
The critical lens of nihilism can be used to take a closer look at current events. One example of this is the mutual aid projects that have sprouted up during the pandemic. What is the difference between mutual aid groups and charity? Charity is usually done by religious, non-profit organizations or social workers. Are anarchists merely the same as these religious groups, except with different intentions or motivations? Are anarchists merely doing the same thing as these groups, but better because we are more pure? The state would be all too happy to have these roles filled by others than to have to worry about them. And when anarchists simply move to fill in the gaps left by government services, we are blinded to possibilities beyond mimicking existing relations. When not moving to fix the existing order's failures, different fields of thinking and capabilities for action open up. Can we leave the state's field fallow while tending to new ways of relating? Nihilism offers us this in addition to a destructive, critical attack on everything that exists.